Okay, hello there traders, Jamie Saettele here. It is April 27th, 2020. It's a Monday. I don't know the last time that I did a webinar on a Monday, but figured we would do one on Monday because I didn't do one last week, and then we'll do one again towards the end of the week, probably on Thursday, maybe Friday, I don't know yet. We'll see how the week shakes out. But before we dive in, just give me some confirmation real quick that you can hear me and that you can, of course, see the screens. Rizwan says yes. Okay, great. All right, so we're going to start with Euro. I like the setup on the long side short term. So bottom line is we've hit good support, right? This is the channel from the 2019 high. We've gone through the top, through the bottom, found resistance near the high or near the channel, and then support near the bottom of the channel again, right? So after several false breaks of volatility expansion on the top side and the downside, we're all the way back here at support. It's like nothing's ever changed. So let's zoom on in to an hourly chart here. And what I like about this is, one, you can, if we get really nitty gritty on this, like 10-minute chart, 1, 2, maybe a 3, 4, 5. I mean, it's really short term. So Rob asking at gold, silver, copper, SPX, and Dow. Yes, absolutely. I was already going to look at S&P anyway, but I will go through all of those. So what we've got here again on the hourly, Euro's 5 up. This is from the March low to the March 27th high, and then you got a clean 3-wave down move, right? That ended on Friday. Okay, so the idea here is to look to buy support at, like, say 107.80, because the 618 here is 107.78. We've also got this low down here, 107.68, and we're going to be targeting probably up near 110.40. And I'm going to bring in a different chart, a daily chart here, which really kind of drives home some of these important levels and things that have happened over the last couple of days. So you can see here that we had on Friday a J spike, okay? We had on the 20th and the 23rd, J spikes. So on the lows back here, J spikes. We had another one here just on Friday. So nice Friday low reversal. Also, what I like is Friday's low is right at daily reversal support. Remember, daily reversal support, take the low day, put a bar on the close. That close is proposed support, and indeed it was. Okay, if we take that 110.43 level we talked about, right, in today's update, you'll see that later. So if you take essentially from here, Friday's low, and do 618 of the leg from 323 up to 327, alternating legs at 618 gets you 110.43. That's where the 200-day average and the month open are. It's a good level to target. I mention that because even though you've got a 5 up and a 3 down, let's just say that from here, what if we go into a triangle or something, in which case we'd be like, up and then, ranging for even longer. That's a possibility. So you'd want to have that, in mind. Like if we got up to that level and reversed, you wouldn't want to hang on to it, right? You want to get out. So that is kind of where my mind's at in terms of euro dollar over the next, say, couple of days. Also, what I like is you can see here that daily RSI has been bouncing along 40 here, right? So that's a positive as well. Typically, that's something I view as constructive. Now, there haven't been a whole lot of trends, so to speak, of late in euro, but if we are going into an uptrend, that's what you want to see. Okay, all right, so that would be euro. Let's take a look at dollar yen, which I think also has, a somewhat interesting setup here on the short side. So here's an hourly chart, and essentially what you've got, this is a trend line confluence around 107.60, and it's basically the kind of the April trend line confluence. So April starts over here, okay, trend line off the April highs, okay, trend line off the April lows, and that's going to be resistance or proposed resistance up around the 107, 107.60 to 70 area. Also, the entire 38.2 retrace of the rally from the March low to the March high is 107.69. So that's something to note as well. And you've got the 200-hour average up there as well. So bottom line, into that 107.60 area would be decent level to short into with a relatively tight stop, and targeting down probably towards 2 equal legs, which is 104.62. Okay, so that's where I'm looking on dollar yen. Pound dollar, funny enough, actually has kind of the opposite setup. So we've got a clean, 5 waves up here from the low. Implication being that we're looking for 3 waves down. So, you've got this first leg down, which I'm treating as an A wave. This next leg up, probably a B wave, right? And the spot to watch for resistance is probably around 125.22 or so. That's going to be those highs from April 16th and 17th. It's also the underside of the former corrective channel line, right? That line off the wave 1 high was support, of course, for wave 4, and kind of little consolidation around it back here on the 21st, and then we dumped. So that's where my focus is on this. I know it's like the complete opposite of what we were thinking, or what I am thinking for euro. I'm thinking euro is actually higher, and the pound is actually lower from here, or from a little higher. But look, you kind of got to look at each thing on its own merits, of course. And so, it's not completely crazy that they go in opposite directions, but we'll, watch that. So obviously I'm not leaving an order there, but I would like to see if we got up here and reversed, I would be looking to short pound dollar. Okay, so that's just kind of an idea that's laid out there at the moment. Aussie dollar, one that we've been focusing on for quite some time. 4-hour chart. So we got up through 64.49. Obviously, we're currently 64.65, so not a ton above it. But at this point, we do have 5 waves up, okay, in Aussie from the low back here. That means one of two, or that means a couple things. One, it means that this low down here is probably really significant, okay, especially because it's on that that longer term lower channel line. And 2, it means that we should be expecting, or we should expect, a decent sized pullback or correction from once this 5-wave move is complete. So where do we look for it to maybe complete now? Now that we're above 64.49? Well, the best level I'm coming up with here, so you've got 311 high up here, right? That's 65.40, and really it's right on the underside of this line here, this red trend line, which does cross a good deal of pivots on the near term, right? Like that was support here, right? Crosses here, 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 support throughout here, break, come back to it, and test as resistance would be kind of an ideal way for this to top, in my opinion. I will note another thing. Kiwi has yet to go through this high, right? We always talk about that Kiwi Aussie kind of divergence. You're going to need like a 90 or 80 point rally in Kiwi to get up to 61.30 and through it. So, for Aussie, we're talking about 80 points on the upside too. So it's possible that we get to that level and the Kiwi actually does not go through the high or gets very close to it. So you still have that non-confirmation in place with Kiwi dollar, and that's something I would keep an eye on as well as we kind of get a bit higher or get towards this level in Aussie. Also, and importantly, if we look at, and I mentioned this in last night's post, right? This here is 2020 VWAP, volume weighted average price in the Australian dollar, okay? You can see right here that starts there. It actually was resistance in mid-January, essentially the 13th through the 16th. So, you know, it has provided resistance before, and I would be looking for it to provide resistance again. You know, we get up to that level, it's ideal. So, you know, again, right in line with the 2000 or the 311 high, excuse me. So 65.23 to 65.40, kind of a great spot to want to sell or short or turn bearish or whatever the Australian dollar. I will obviously be looking for or paying attention to it to see if we get any sort of reversal signal up at that level. Again, the reversal signals, you know, volume reversal signals, this is futures. So that's what I will be paying very close attention to as it pertains to the Aussie dollar. Hold on for a second. Interessante. All right. This is, I'm looking at pound futures here real quick. Excuse me, I want to throw that up there. We're actually already on it there. That's interesting. All right, so that is Aussie. Okay, for FX, Gary says, I've joined the room late. Have I missed the abomination? You know what, Gary? We went through dollar yen, but I'll give you a quick view of it. So this is what I'm looking at for dollar yen. Essentially, this is an hourly chart. You've got 107.60 to 107.70 is what I think is an important spot. A little trend line confluence. It's also the 200-hour average. So I'm looking to short into that, Gary, with a tight stop kind of above 108. And that's my view in terms of dollar yen on the near term, okay? All right, in terms of FX, that's really all I've got. I don't, you know, obviously I'd like to play, I think, Aussie better here. It's kind of in the mover rather than Kiwi as far as that setup's concerned. In terms of dollar CAD, I don't have much of a thought here on dollar CAD. I mean, you know, one possibility is that, you know, we kind of continue to trade lower, take out this low, and actually get a good bounce off of some, like over here somewhere, which you can see this line, which crosses these highs and then was perfect support after the gap. That's clearly a level. You always kind of like when you take out a spot, right? And then you can reverse after taking, you know, you're hitting good parallels along with taking out a horizontal level. So, you know, maybe watch for a bounce under 38.50 in dollar CAD. Other than that, I don't really have a very strong opinion on what's going on with dollar CAD at this point. Okay, let's get into some of the other stuff. Would like to go into maybe S&Ps right now. So we're going to look at both the cash index, right, and the futures. All right, so we had that late sell-off, or that sell-off, I should say, back here on the 21st last Tuesday, and since then it's just been levitation higher. There are two levels to pay attention to here, in my opinion, for S&Ps. The first is basically the 29.35 area or so, and you can see that's the 618 retrace. Okay, now keep in mind, this is cash, okay? The levels are a little different when it comes to futures, but not much. So 29.35 in cash, awfully close to the October 2018 high, of course. And the other level in cash is actually 200-day average, which it currently is 3,007, so just above 3,000. Now, Let's go to like a 60-minute chart on this. Something you notice now is that the rally here is in 5 waves, right? This decline is also in 5 waves. I don't know what the hell that means. You know, we've got 5-wave movements all over the place. Does it mean that we end up, you know, taking a huge drop and then coming all the way back? It's possible, but let's look at the here and now. The here and now suggests that 29.35 is a big level to watch, and we should really pay attention to that. So, you know, once we either get this level, you know, this rally in 5 waves up to here, right from here, or we even go sideways a little bit and make a flat and then pop higher, okay, we'd probably want to be getting bearish on S&Ps. You know, each time we've turned down, it's just been, you know, we've levitated higher. All right, now I'm going to bring in futures. Okay, futures chart. 618 on futures is 29.23. Remember I said the levels are a little different, right? Remember the 618 on cash is 29.35. Well, guess what? 2020 VWAP is actually 29.35. It's also the underside of this trend line, the red line here. So really pay attention to 29.35, especially if we get there over the next day. You know, I don't know if we're going to get there or not the next day, but if we do, that'd be a level where I'd pay close attention to reversal potential. So I'm going to leave it there on S&Ps. Basically 29, 23, 35 on futures looks like a big spot for potential resistance. And that's my story. I'm sticking to it. On the downside, by the way, 26.37 is going to be huge. That's all this former support, VWAP off the low, 38.2, you name it. So basically, between the fibs here on futures are the big level to pay attention to on futures. See here. Now I know that. See, Sarabha also asked about Dow. So while we're on stocks, we might as well look at the Dow as well. Sure thing. Let's do the same thing we just did. Let's look at some cash prices, and then we'll bring up okay. Well, here's the weekly chart. This is the long-term weekly chart. We continue to kind of screw around above the really long-term median line. Closed right at it last week, closed at it 2 weeks ago. From here, the big levels to pay attention to. So the 618 of the decline from the top is 25,230. Okay, it's going to be pretty close to this August low. 2 legs up, okay, is going to be 25,116. So that gives you a zone of 25,116 to 25,230 in the Dow to pay attention to. Okay. For me, that's really I guess the best I can do in terms of giving a spot to pay attention to. But let's see where the futures VWAP levels are, because if they're there, that would tell me that it's really, you know, a big spot. So remember that 25,116 to 25,230. Okay, so we are trading. This is Dow futures. Okay, we are trading. I said 25,116 to 25,230. At present, we were actually trading right at VWAP from the high. Okay, it's just been resistance, you know, back 2 weeks ago as well. So that is a level, literally right now. Hard to say that we actually end up just turning down from here, because it does look like an S&P's level's bigger. I will say that if you take kind of a gander at where VWAP is from the 2020 level, it's 25,700. So that's a little above our levels on cash, but again, that could decrease a little bit as time progresses. So for me, I'm going to pay attention to that cash level that I mentioned, which is 25,116, 25,230. Okay, so that's a big spot, I think. And look, if you go 25.7, overshoot a little bit, like who really cares? I mean, you know, we're not talking about a ton. We're talking about a couple hundred points in this environment, right? Also, let's do a little something else here with this. Okay. Do you see this VWAP? That is from the December 2018 low. Let's see where we get two equal legs. Futures. Yeah, right up there. Okay. So yeah, for me, Rob, it does look like this is going to be the big spot where those VWAPs are. So, you know, again, on cash, it's a little lower than that. You know, maybe I'll publish those charts maybe tomorrow's update so you have them. You know, as it pertains to near-term price action, like right here, you know, the Dow still hasn't taken out this high, whereas the other indices have. So, you know, if this is, say, a fourth wave that we're in right now, probably hard to see that. Let me, okay. So let's say this is a 1, 2, 3, 4. This is all a 4. We could go sideways for a little bit, maybe make a triangle and then go higher, or even a flat. So I'm not saying that just because the big resistance is higher that we should just, you know, chase price here. That's not the setup, okay? Interesting to note too that if you, you know, a 100% expansion or you know, a breakout of this range gets you 25,840, which is right up on those VWAPs as well. So that might be eventually where we're talking about going before you try to turn down again in earnest. All right, so I hope that helps out with levels for the S&P and the Dow. Okay, all right, let's go to the metals because I had some requests to look at, say, gold and silver and copper, I believe, as well. Okay, so let's go. I'm looking. So you gotta remember, I have most of my stuff is kind of on futures. Is where my So that's, you know, where my long-term analysis is. So this is the silver, and then I will look at spot because I know most people just trade that. So this is the long-term silver chart, excuse me. Yeah, we went to a really big level, you know, 2 weeks ago. And since then, we've kind of traded off and not done a whole lot. Near term, you know, bottom line, I am bearish silver here on a broader kind of basis, right? Like, I do think silver heads lower from here. This is a big spot, 200-week average. You know, there's just a lot here. Obviously, when I zoom into a chart, like a 60-minute chart or something, kind of this rounding top action, but you know, we're still under this 200-hour average. So on a near-term trading basis, can't really give it a whole lot of room, right? Because you start popping above here, you're probably, you know, going for another test of this. So, you know, I will go to spot now, XAG. And this, I believe, was the setup they kind of had last week. You do have this possible head and shoulders top here. We did break this really short-term trend line. Not much has obviously happened. And really, you know, I kind of like silver lower as long as you're under this 15, 44, 50 area in spot. right? And I would be looking for a drop down to 1381.50, all right? In fact, if we were to get say a breakout of that level and you were to measure this as the neckline, just kind of right here, a break under 1486, you know, where your target is 1388, that's right on those lows. So that's my near-term view on silver. Okay, let's take a look now at gold. Well, again, we'll start with futures. So this was the futures chart. Again, long-term basis, you know, hit that huge level. This is the really long-term chart, right? We had pretty close to 1790, 1800 area was a level that we were really paying a lot of attention to. Near term, we did count that little 5-wave drop. Rally carried a bit further than I thought it would, okay? And I'm not sure how this really counts at this point, but everything that I've said since, you know, here, I mean, we were looking for that takeout of 1672.50 and a pop. I thought we'd stop closer to 1742. Instead, we went to 1765, but guess what? We are below 1742 at this point. So I would be looking lower again here on gold. As for how low, I really can't say. You got to remember, we've hit a very, very big long-term resistance area. Okay, that's, you know, that's kind of all I can offer. The first level to probably look at, this is the 200-hour or 200 period average on the 4-hour chart, and you can see that, you know, you've had corrections at times, and that has been decent support at times. So I would look at that. That would just be about 1647 on the futures chart. If we look at equivalent levels for cash, right, spot, you can see here's our little 5-wave drop we've got labeled. It does look like this is a clear breakdown level, right? Top of that line right there. So, you know, I'd say a drop below 1707 leads to kind of a deeper decline. As far as support, it's very tough to say. Again, I would look at silver, look to silver more for that proposed support level, right? Which again was right here, right? That was the 1380s region over there. Taking a look at copper. I've really liked the copper chart of late. Pay attention to this line right here, that trend line on copper, okay? 50% retrace of the decline all the way back to the January high. That is going to be in line with these levels right here, which were kind of pivot support resistance around, around March, mid-March. And why is this thing acting so weird? All right. Anyway, and the underside of this line right here is going to intersect that really over the next day or so, and that's going to be 242.90. It'd be a pretty big pop. Maybe makes some sense though if we get a pretty big pop like that and then roll over with Aussie also making itself, you know, a decent high before it pulls back. So those are the levels I'm watching in all the metals. See if I can get you a copper CFD to look at. Copper. Guess we could use O and copper. So, all right. So similar, right? Just draw that trend line in. And yeah, it looks like to be around 243 in the copper spot chart, okay? All right, so I hope that helps out. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap it up here and get this archived. I also need to get my post out for today, but essentially looking at 2 trades heading into Tuesday, and that's long euro and long and short dollar yen, and maybe looking for a short and pound at some point soon, and obviously a short in Aussie. Rizwan asked about US oil. Sure. Yeah, so like, here's the crazy thing when you look at, check this out. So if you look at US oil, or this is actually crude showing that, but if you look at the actual channel, negative channel, look how close we actually came to hitting that negative 40 something bucks. Isn't that crazy? So really hard to look at. So if you were to like, you know, actually draw a retracement level off the negative 40 level, so this is why I think we probably have to just look at the front month future in this, because I'm just not, all the charts are so messed up now when it comes to this. Really difficult to kind of get a handle on that. I mean, but the only thing I can tell you is that the drop from up here in January is obvious, is a clear 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? I'm not sure if you want to try to buy weakness in this, given everything that's happened. But I would put like this 19. This is, again, this is the CFD. So I would put that, see that low there at 1925. You know, that's going to be obviously very close to that high there, which is from last week, from Thursday. So I would kind of put that as your breakout level. Rizwan, at, you know, over 1925, I kind of call that, you know, a breakout really to the upside. And just on simple Elliott, you'd be looking back towards the former 4th wave high, which is going to be 20, just above 29 bucks. So yeah, I hope that does help you. I mean, you can see this does I mean, that line's beautiful. Of course, that was a CFD, which I only went to like 0 instead of negative 40. But yeah. All right, so that wraps it up then. I will talk to you guys later this week. We'll do another webinar late this week, okay? All right, take care. Have a wonderful week here, and you'll have this archived soon, and the post will be out soon as well. All right, thank you. Take care, bye.